Silence is strength because it forces you to value your energy, and anything that demands energy without producing results becomes noise. Most people talk because they're uncomfortable with who they are when they're quiet. They need to fill the space with words so they don't have to face their insecurities. Silence exposes your true self. When you stay quiet, your weaknesses, your fears, your inaction, your lack of results all confront you. That's why silence feels heavy to people who haven't achieved anything yet. It reminds them of everything they've avoided. But for those who are building something, silence is powerful. It becomes their most honest reflection and their sharpest weapon. When you know what you're doing, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need external validation to believe in your path. You let the work convince the world for you. Silence is strength because it makes people wonder about you. When you don't announce your goals or explain your intentions, people are forced to observe. They watch your moves, they watch your discipline, they watch you change, and they have nothing to attack until you've already won. Silence is not hiding. Silence is strategic. It keeps your plans protected from envy, gossip, negativity, and weak minds looking for ways to discourage you. Most dream killers come disguised as advice. Most failures begin with explaining your dreams to people who weren't built to understand them. When you choose silence, you eliminate interference. You keep your mission clean. It also creates mental clarity. You talk less, you think more. When you stop trying to defend yourself, you start investing in yourself. You redirect your focus from convincing people to becoming someone undeniable. Silence places your effort where it belongs, in action. When you practice silence, you learn patience, and patience is the backbone of greatness. You don't rush to prove anything. You don't react to criticism. You don't chase approval. You wait, you work, and you let time expose the truth. Silence also intimidates. Not because it's aggressive, but because it's unpredictable. People don't know what you're thinking, what you're planning, or how much you know. A silent person with discipline makes others uncomfortable because they can't control or manipulate someone who isn't desperate to be heard. Silence takes away the power that others have over your emotions. It puts you in control of the environment. When you speak less, every word becomes valuable. When you stay quiet, every action becomes visible. When you don't react, you become impossible to provoke. Silence is strength because it separates the talkers from the doers. Anyone can talk big, but only a few can stay focused long enough to win big. Silence is the language of people who are serious about their goals. And when you finally speak, it isn't words that earn respect, it's the results behind them. Arguing is the favorite sport of insecure people because it gives them a temporary feeling of importance. They raise their voice, they defend themselves aggressively, but they try to prove they know something, but deep down they're terrified of being ignored. Arguing is not about truth for them, it's about attention. If their voice goes unheard, they feel powerless. And that's why they argue, not to solve a problem, but to be seen, to be validated, to feel like they matter. They scream because they don't have results loud enough to speak for them. They debate because they lack achievements that would silence every question without a single word. The louder someone argues to prove their value, the clearer it becomes that they don't believe in their own value in the first place. When you know who you are and what you're capable of, you don't participate in meaningless arguments. You don't waste effort trying to convince someone who has no impact on your destiny. You don't feel the need to respond to every opinion thrown your way. Confidence doesn't argue, it acts. Confidence doesn't explain, it demonstrates. Confidence doesn't fight to win debates, it wins in real life. People who have nothing going on will always try to drag you into pointless discussions because you're doing what they aren't, moving forward. They want you to stop and justify yourself so they can feel equal to you for a moment. But when you keep building instead of talking, you make them irrelevant. Every second spent arguing is a second taken away from progress. An argument is only a trap when you think the other person needs to understand you. But the truth is, you don't need understanding to succeed. You don't need applause to grow. You don't need anyone's permission to evolve. You don't have to prove your intelligence to people who choose ignorance. The only ones who argue endlessly are those who want to be right more than they want to be effective. They want to win a conversation instead of winning in life. They want verbal victories because they lack real ones. You'll never see someone successful wasting hours debating over opinions that bring no growth. They're too busy building something undeniable. Arguments also expose insecurity because the moment someone challenges their identity, their beliefs, or their ego, they feel attacked. A secure person doesn't panic when questioned. They don't need to defend every statement. They don't rush to justify themselves. They simply continue doing what they know must be done because their direction is clear. Nothing anyone says can shake it. When your confidence comes from achievements, not words, you don't get triggered by opinions. You become untouchable because your proof lives in actions, not arguments. So the next time someone tries to pull you into a debate to feed their ego, remember this: responding makes them equal, ignoring makes them powerless. Stop proving, stop arguing. Let your silence reveal how unimportant their words truly are. Let your results speak, and let their opinions disappear into the background where they belong. Respect has never been earned from someone's ability to speak beautifully or argue intelligently. It's earned when you have something in your life that proves your worth without you needing to defend it. Words can create an impression, but results create authority. You don't need to tell people who you are when you're busy becoming someone they can't ignore. This is why some people talk about their dreams for years and still never move anywhere, because they think the world owes them respect for having plans. But plans don't impress anyone. Results do. You could shout your goals from rooftops every day, but if your actions show nothing, then your words are just decoration for your mediocrity. Real respect doesn't come from what you say about yourself. It comes from what your habits say about you when you're not speaking. People follow results, not voices. They listen to those who have paid the price through discipline, sacrifice, and consistency, not the ones who keep repeating their intentions. When you accomplish something, you don't need to explain your value. Your value becomes visible without speaking. That's why those with achievements barely argue with anyone. They have proof. Proof is louder than debate. Proof is louder than opinions. Proof is louder than excuses. You can disagree with someone's words, but you can't deny their results. Billionaire doesn't need to convince anyone they know money. A champion doesn't need to argue about hard work. Respect is automatic when success is visible. The mistake most people make is they think respect is a right. They believe they should be respected because they're trying or because they feel they deserve it. But the world doesn't respect potential. It respects performance. Trying doesn't earn respect. Working until you achieve something does. Respect isn't a gift someone hands you because you're passionate. Respect comes when you've fought through challenges, endured discomfort, stayed focused, and produced something worth acknowledging. Only then do people stop doubting you. Only then do people start listening. You don't need to convince anyone to follow you when you're leading through example. Action-backed respect is powerful because it's earned, not requested. No one can give it to you, and no one can take it away from you once it's built on hard work. That's the difference between shallow validation and real respect. Validation needs people. Respect needs results. Validation fades when opinions change. Respect lasts because evidence remains. When your life becomes proof, you stop talking about what you could do and you start showing what you did. You don't beg for recognition, you command it naturally. If you truly want respect, stop trying to win arguments, stop telling people how hard you're working, and stop seeking approval. Start building something undeniable. Let your success be the voice that speaks for you, because when your results are loud enough, you won't need to say a single word. You cannot influence anyone if you have no control over yourself. Influence isn't loud, and it isn't emotional. It doesn't come from trying to convince people or argue with them. Real influence comes from stability, the kind of stability that only exists when you've mastered your own reactions, decisions, and discipline. People respect what they can rely on, and no one trusts someone who cannot even trust themselves. When you explode in anger, when your mood changes based on who talks to you, when your confidence rises and falls with someone's opinion, you are not respected, you are predictable. You are easy to manipulate. Anyone who can control your emotions controls your mind, your choices, and your future. Mastering yourself means you're no longer moved by noise, by critics, or by pressure. You don't get offended easily. You don't react without thinking. You don't waste energy proving anything to people who are irrelevant. You operate from intention, not emotion. Most people want influence because they crave validation, but the people who actually get it are the ones who don't need it. They operate from purpose, not ego. And when someone's self-esteem isn't negotiable, when their emotions aren't easily hijacked, people start to respect them even if they don't like them. Respect doesn't require popularity. It requires discipline. Self-mastery is the foundation of every leader, every winner, every high performer. You cannot lead anyone if you cannot lead yourself. You cannot expect commitment from others if you cannot commit to your own goals. You cannot demand discipline from anyone if you live without structure. This is why real respect doesn't come from speeches, it comes from consistency. Most people are emotional, most people react quickly. Most people can be provoked into wasting time and energy. When you remain calm while others are impulsive, you stand out. When you stay focused while others argue, you gain advantage. When you choose logic over emotion, you become powerful. Self-mastery also protects your respect. The second you react emotionally to someone's insult, you give them control. The moment you argue out of anger, you lower yourself to their level. When you constantly justify yourself, you show insecurity. But when you stay composed, when you let your results defend you, when you choose silence over emotional response, people realize they can't shake you. And that is where respect begins, in being unshakable. Mastery of your emotions doesn't mean you suppress feelings. It means your feelings don't control you. You choose your actions. You choose your reactions. You choose your focus. Self-control turns you into someone who doesn't need to shout to be heard. Someone who doesn't need approval to move forward. Someone who doesn't need to argue to prove they're right. Your calm becomes authority. Your discipline becomes influence. And your silence becomes power. When you master yourself, you don't demand respect. You earn it without speaking. When you choose silence over constant talking, you gain access to information that loud, impulsive people never get. Silence forces you to observe instead of react, to think instead of argue, and to analyze instead of defend. Most people waste their power trying to be seen or heard, which blinds them to what's actually happening around them. They speak too soon, reveal too much, and act before understanding the situation. But when you stay quiet, you become aware of things others don't notice, people's intentions, their fears, their true motivations, their weaknesses, their level of discipline. You learn who lies, who is reliable, who is jealous, who is insecure, and who is worth your energy. Silence is not emptiness, it's clarity. Observation gives you strategy. When you don't rush to express an opinion, you learn what the environment demands. When you're not trying to impress anyone, you can assess who is bluffing and who is actually strong. Most people fail because they make decisions emotionally and instantly. They speak before they think, they commit before they're ready, and they trust before they analyze. Silence protects you from these costly mistakes. When you listen more than you talk, you gather information that gives you an advantage. You understand how to respond, when to respond, and whether you should respond at all. Silence also gives you control. The person who speaks less holds more power because they don't reveal their thoughts prematurely. Words expose your intentions. Silence protects them. When you don't show your emotions, people can't use your emotions against you. When you don't explain your goals, no one can sabotage them. When you don't react instantly, people can't manipulate you into action. Silence keeps you unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. People can't attack what they can't read. Strategic silence also changes the way others treat you. When you don't rush to answer questions, people take you more seriously. When you think before speaking, your words carry weight. When you don't argue, people start to watch what you do instead. Silence shifts attention from what you say to what you accomplish. It turns you into someone who acts instead of justifying, someone who moves forward instead of debating. Loud people fight for attention. Silent strategists build leverage. Silence is a mental training ground. It strengthens discipline because you learn to hold back impulses. It strengthens patience because you slow down and evaluate. It strengthens character because you develop the ability to stand firm without needing validation. What you don't say teaches you more than what you do say. Silence teaches you when to walk away, when to adapt, when to strike, and when to stay still. Silence makes your actions sharper and your decisions smarter. In a world where everyone is talking, the quiet thinker becomes powerful. The one who listens knows more, sees more, and understands more. And the one who understands more will always lead because strategy outruns noise every time. Silence is not the absence of power. It's the incubation of power. And the moment you execute with that knowledge, your results become unstoppable. Success is the only real answer that leaves no room for debate, excuses, or opinions. You don't have to convince people you're on the right path when the results are standing beside you as proof. A winner never argues with doubters because winning itself silences every voice that questioned, mocked, or underestimated them. Arguments require attention, but success demands work. When you choose to argue, you've already stepped away from progress. When you choose to build, you let the results speak in a language no critic can twist or deny. You don't defeat critics by responding to them. You defeat them by becoming someone they can't reach. People love to debate because it's cheap. It costs nothing to voice an opinion, but it costs everything to build something that matters. The world gives microphones to talkers, but it bows to people with impact. You don't need applause while you're working. You don't need recognition during the struggle. Let people mock your silence. Let them misunderstand your focus. Let them think you're doing nothing while you disappear into discipline. The most dangerous moves are made in quiet. The most powerful transformations happen in privacy. And when the results finally appear, they arrive with a force that makes every doubter choke on their own words. Success humiliates doubt. You don't need to return insults because your progress becomes the insult. You don't need to defend your decisions because your achievements become the defense. You don't need to correct those who didn't believe in you because your life becomes the correction. When you rise, you force people to confront the truth. They were wrong. They didn't misjudge your plans. They misjudged your discipline. They saw your silence as weakness, but it was strategy. They thought you were behind, but you were preparing. They assumed you couldn't do it because they never saw you trying. But the work was being done where no one was watching. Success is the revenge you don't need to announce. Let people underestimate you. Let them question you. Let them gossip. Let them laugh. They can't stop what they can't see, and they can't block what you stay consistent enough to build. The day your results show up, every voice becomes quiet, not because you silence them, but because proof does what arguments never can. Proof removes discussion. Proof ends opinions. Proof stands taller than every rumor, every insult, and every prediction against you. If you want to destroy doubt, build something undeniable. If you want respect, create results that demand it. If you want to shut down critics, don't compete with their words. Give them something they can't deny. Be relentless in silence and let your success attack for you. It doesn't need volume. It doesn't need explanation. It doesn't need permission. It just needs your consistency. And once it arrives, it becomes a voice louder than anything you could ever say.